Morgan Freeman, one of the most respected voices in Hollywood, was cut off mid-sentence on live television. Not just anywhere, but on The View, a show known for giving its guests space to speak their minds. But this time, viewers were left speechless as Freeman's segment ended so abruptly. It felt like someone behind the scenes didn't want him to finish. Why would the producers rush a man like him off the stage? And what was he about to say that might have made people uncomfortable? Because what Freeman said just before the cameras cut wasn't just another celebrity soundbite. It was something deeper, and possibly something they didn't want the world to hear. But that wasn't even the most surprising part. Morgan Freeman isn't just any Hollywood actor. He's the kind of figure who commands respect the moment he speaks. That instantly recognizable voice, deep, deliberate, and full of quiet authority, has narrated everything from Academy Award-winning films to the most respected documentaries on Earth. When he talks, people listen, not because of hype or controversy, but because what he says usually carries weight and wisdom. Now in his 80s, Freeman isn't chasing the spotlight. He speaks when he has something to say. And that's exactly what made his appearance on The View so unusual and so controversial. He wasn't promoting a new blockbuster or diving into Hollywood gossip. He was there to sound the alarm about something much bigger, the future of life on this planet. His new Netflix series, Life on Our Planet, explores the rise and fall of entire species, how nature reclaims itself, even after humanity gets it wrong. But before he could get deep into it, the segment took a turn. Not because he went off topic, not because he said something outlandish, but because the energy in the room shifted the moment he started speaking a little too clearly about the truth. And that's when the interruption happened. On October 25th, 2023, Morgan Freeman appeared on The View to promote his latest project, Life on Our Planet, a Netflix documentary he narrates about Earth's past extinctions and the looming dangers ahead. From the start, his presence on the show felt different. He was calm, collected, and focused, not cracking jokes or indulging in the usual celebrity banter. Instead, he looked like a man with something urgent on his mind. He started by explaining how nature doesn't need humans to survive. In fact, if we disappeared tomorrow, nature would heal, grow, and move on without us. But if we stay on the path we're on, a cataclysmic event is almost guaranteed. He wasn't fear-mongering. He was laying out facts, scientific, historical, and brutal in their simplicity. And he said it all with the kind of quiet intensity that made the studio audience fall completely silent. But just as the conversation was starting to get serious, something strange happened. Instead of leaning into the depth of Freeman's message, the hosts quickly shifted gears. Joy Behar tried to pivot. Whoopi glanced toward the camera. The tone changed. And within seconds, Freeman was being thanked for coming by, as if he had just stopped in to chat about a movie premiere. It was awkward, rushed, and way too short for a man like Morgan Freeman. But the real tension? That came from what didn't get said, because the interview was cut right as things were getting uncomfortable. And what happened next sparked even more questions. Just before the interview was shut down, Morgan Freeman looked directly into the camera and said something that stopped the room cold. This planet will survive. We might not. It wasn't said for shock. It wasn't some dramatic made-for-TV line. It was raw, unscripted truth, and you could see it in his eyes. He meant every word. Freeman explained that Earth has already seen 5 mass extinctions, entire species wiped out, entire ecosystems reset, and each time, life found a way to start over. But the 6th extinction, the one scientists warn we're accelerating right now, that one's different, because we're causing it. And he didn't sugarcoat it either. He said, flat out, that if humans don't change course, we won't be here to see what comes next. That kind of statement isn't easy to digest, especially on a daytime talk show built around celebrity gossip and pop culture hot takes. You could feel the discomfort in the room. Some of the hosts tried to smile through it. Others looked down at their notes. But Freeman kept going, talking about how humanity's ego might be its downfall, and how we've mistaken technological advancement for actual progress. And just when it felt like he was about to dive even deeper, possibly into the politics, the denial, or the corporate greed behind it all, that's when Whoopi jumped in with a soft, "We're out of time," cutting him off mid-thought. No follow-up, no final word, just an awkward wrap-up and a quick fade to commercial. But online, that clip went viral. and people weren't just shocked, they were angry. Because it looked like someone didn't want Morgan Freeman to finish what he had started, and what the audience noticed next made the situation even more suspicious. The moment Whoopi cut Freeman off, the energy on set changed instantly. 1 second, he was laying down hard truths about extinction and human arrogance. Then suddenly, the tone flipped. Whoopi gave a polite smile, thanked him for coming, and the credits began to roll. Just like that. No closing thoughts, no reactions. No one even addressed the heaviness of what he had just said. And viewers noticed, fast. Within hours, the clip spread across social media. Fans flooded Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube comments calling the moment disrespectful, rushed, and weirdly abrupt. Some even called out the hosts directly, asking why Morgan Freeman, of all people, was treated like a throwaway guest. One viral comment said, "They gave more time to B-list drama than they gave to Freeman talking about the actual end of humanity." Others pointed out how visibly unsettled the hosts looked when he started talking about uncomfortable truths. A few even accused the show of cutting him short on purpose, hinting that his message didn't fit the show's lighter tone, or worse, that someone behind the scenes didn't want him to go there. Even longtime fans of The View admitted the segment felt strange. It wasn't just short, it was empty, as if something was missing. And with Freeman's reputation for measured, intentional speech, it was hard to believe he said everything he came there to say in just a few minutes. But what made things even more suspicious? It turns out this wasn't just about time management. There was something else that happened during the interview, something subtle, but sharp enough to get people talking. Not long after the interview aired, eagle-eyed viewers started pointing out something even more curious. Freeman may have quietly corrected one of the hosts live on air. It was subtle, almost easy to miss. But when the topic of life on our planet shifted to storytelling and representation, one of the hosts casually suggested the series was a hopeful take on environmental issues. That's when Freeman leaned in slightly and responded, "No, it's not hopeful. It's a warning." The delivery wasn't rude. It wasn't aggressive, but it was deliberate. And if you know Morgan Freeman, you know he chooses his words very carefully. That single line flipped the tone of the conversation, and it didn't go unnoticed. Shortly after that exchange, Freeman brought up how stories, especially in Hollywood, are often crafted to avoid harsh realities. He hinted at how climate narratives are too often softened for comfort. And while he didn't name names, many viewers felt like the comment was aimed at more than just the media. It felt personal, like he was calling out the industry's habit of burying uncomfortable truths in polished sound bites and feel-good endings. That's when the cameras cut to Whoopi. She didn't respond to what he said. She simply looked to the side, gave a brief nod, and then quickly moved to wrap the segment. Some viewers speculated it was just tight scheduling. Others weren't so sure. Because when someone like Morgan Freeman makes the rare move to challenge the tone of a national talk show, you don't just wave it off like nothing happened, unless you're trying not to draw attention to it. And with so many people watching that moment frame by frame, one question kept coming up. Was this really about running out of time? Or was it about what he was starting to say? And then came the wave that The View didn't see coming. The fallout was almost instant. Clips from the interview started racking up views across YouTube, TikTok, and X within hours. But this wasn't typical celebrity buzz. People were angry, not because of what Freeman said, but because of what he wasn't allowed to finish saying. Comments poured in, calling the interview a missed opportunity, an insult, and a blatant disrespect to a living legend. One post with over 100,000 likes said, "You don't rush Morgan Freeman, you listen." Another simply read, "You gave 6 minutes to Morgan Freeman and 10 to reality TV gossip. Disgraceful." Worse, it wasn't just fans complaining. Journalists, climate activists, and fellow actors started weighing in. A few independent outlets even called it a soft censorship moment, where the truth didn't fit the tone, so they pulled the plug. Some hinted at the irony. A documentary warning about humanity's collapse getting sidelined on a national stage because it was too serious. Even former fans of The View started turning away. Comment sections that once defended the hosts were suddenly filled with people calling the show tone-deaf, controlled, and afraid of real talk. Many viewers begged for Freeman to be given his own platform, one where he wouldn't be rushed, filtered, or redirected. And the more people watched the clip, the more they noticed the discomfort in the room. The nervous smiles, the quick camera cuts, the sudden change in his tone. To many, it didn't feel like a casual wrap-up. It felt like a quiet panic behind the scenes, like producers were signaling, "Get him off now." But the biggest twist, it wasn't just the audience that felt something was wrong. Behind the scenes, rumors started swirling that not everyone on set agreed with how things ended. The truth is, Morgan Freeman has never been a man easily swayed by trends, politics, or the spotlight. That's part of what makes him so powerful and so dangerous to a system built on surface-level soundbites. He's not chasing headlines. He's not stirring controversy for clicks. When he speaks, it's because something needs to be said. And maybe that's exactly why his segment on The View was shut down so quickly. Because Freeman wasn't promoting fear, he was challenging comfort. He was asking questions that force people to stop scrolling, to think harder, to ask themselves what really matters. And in a media landscape driven by hot takes and viral drama, sometimes truth is just too disruptive. The fact that a man like Morgan Freeman couldn't finish a simple, honest thought on national television says more about the state of daytime media than anything else. We claim to want truth, but when it shows up, calm, quiet, and inconvenient, we panic. But maybe that was the point. Maybe Freeman knew exactly what would happen when he showed up and said what no one else was willing to. Maybe getting cut off was the message, and the world, it heard it loud and clear.